Ingram with a shot. He got it! 32 years old, first NBA game, over 380 games in the minor leagues, the D-League and the G-League. His first shot in the NBA, a three, and he knocks it in. Congratulations, Mr. Ingram.
I'm Andre Ingram, and you're watching Game Changers, presented by SoFi.
I have a cousin that lives right here, always beep the horn as we pass by him. So yeah, I'm just beeping the horn. Cousin lives there, yeah. So they know when I'm in town. So I'll be like gone for a season and, you know, I'll end up coming back, beeping the horn. They'll call me like, you're back in town, huh? I'm like, yep, I'm here.
My senior year of high school, I wasn't the biggest fan of college basketball. I didn't really watch. I loved the NBA, and I used to watch the NBA all the time. So, you know, obviously wanted to be a pro, but I didn't care too much about college. So I told everyone who was recruiting me, I said, look, I'm not making any decision until we win the state championship. That's what I told everybody. I'm telling like big schools that, like ACC schools that. And they're like, okay. And by the time we won the state, we did win it, there were only two schools left. It was William & Mary and American. That's how I ended up at American. My freshman season, I get freshman of the year for the conference. Sophomore year, first team all conference. So just, you know, from high school on, I'm like upward trajectory, you know. And then my junior year of college, I had my worst season, you know, just period. So when I got first team again as a senior, that was like kind of a big thing. So that was that. This is a Holland Springs Hall of Fame trophy. This like senior superlatives, like most athletic, you know, you do senior superlatives. Obviously, you know, the most, you know, biggest moment of my career, that game. Yep, never forget that.
When I started playing basketball, it was the early 90s, the height of MJ, you know, like, so that was my introduction to basketball. My only thought was to be an NBA player someday. That was it. And so whatever route that I could take to get there, that's what I was gonna do. I knew I wasn't going to the NBA draft. You know, you would know if you're like even in the vicinity of those guys or if they're even thinking about you. They were not of me. Most guys in my position, they're probably thinking overseas or D-League. With me, it was no-brainer, D-League. And so I went to a tryout camp in Dallas, and they said, well, you know, the draft's in like a couple months, you'll see what happens. I believe I was at, I don't know, I think I was at a college game or something when I got the call or was following the draft that the Utah Flash, an expansion team, had drafted me in the 7th round of a 10-round draft, and I was through the roof. Didn't feel like a demotion or anything to me, minor league, whatever the case may be. It felt great to me, professional basketball. I couldn't wait. First game I played, we were playing the Anaheim Arsenal. Here's what I remember. I remember we won. I went 2 for 2. I think I shot 2 floaters or something. I didn't take a 3 that game. So it wasn't immediately like the 3 ball was gonna be my thing. I didn't become like a, you know, predominantly 3-point shooter until later in the year when it just became the shot I ended up getting a lot. I was a scorer for most of my career. I could shoot the 3, but it was never like this is what he does and this is only what he does. That came later. Highlights from the Utah years, 3-point contest. Won my very first one, the very first one that I've ever been a part of, like, you know, officially, when, you know, I found that I could, like, you know, move my game from trying to do a little bit of everything to let's just, you know, this off season, we're gonna shoot a lot of threes, like more than you ever have. And it became a specialty for me, and it kept me on a spot with every team I played with. You know, there's no team that can't use somebody who, if you kick it to him, he's knocking it down more often than not.
I've known Mark since I was in middle school. Every single jump shot I've taken in Richmond, Virginia, he's been the rebounder. Every single one.
For a player like me who wasn't averaging 30 in the G League or D League, you know, overseas teams like want you. I didn't, you know, realize that, or again, I'm thinking only NBA. So part of it, you know, when my prayers came in the off season, I'm like, listen, are we gonna go back here and try this again, or should we make some money? And I always felt the push to come back to play each season. And it did not hurt that I had met her at the end of that first season. So I was like, you know what, you go back there, you get to see her. And you know, once I went back that second year, my wife was just a part of everything, you know. So now I'm basically not living with my teammates anymore. I'm with her, you know. I practice, I'm with her. I go back to practice, I'm back with her. You know, it's just, you know, we spent a lot of time together. And really, she knew me from my first season as a, you know, professional to all the way to now.
I think from the beginning, we have chose to be able to stick together and not be apart. And so that's helped tremendously, not only like in our marriage, not only as a family, but during those 10 years when he did not make it and that call-up came, it's okay, everything is worth it.
So when the Utah Flash, when they told us they were no longer coming back, our rights got moved to the LA franchise. So that's how I ended up with LA. But at the end of my last season with Utah, which was their last season, we found out that she was pregnant with our first child. So I didn't immediately go to LA. I have a child now, so this $13,500 that I'm making each year, this is not gonna cut it. I have a kid, I have to work. I have to stop playing ball, and I have to work. So at the beginning of the 2011, 2012 season, when my rights are with LA, I'm in Utah. I was working at a residential treatment center for like middle school kids. I was a mentor. It got to about the end of the G League season where I, felt the itch to play and, really wanted to be back and was still in shape to do so. And LA was calling me, Coach Musselman called me, said, hey, we're playing really well. We got guys getting called up. We could use your shooting. I'm like, Coach, I haven't played all year. I've been working, but I can still do it, So I ended up joining them at the end of that season. That got me back into basketball and showed me that 13,500, we could still make it work. I was doing everything, man. I was tutoring math. I started training kids, and that's been a big joy of mine, something that I've continued both throughout, all this time. But that kept me around the game to train other athletes and stuff like that. Keeps me in the gym. It only helps.
Way to finish and done. Catch it, take that extra step. You're starting on that block this time. Shoot it anyway, in rhythm. Yeah, keep going. Good. Keep going. Good. Off two. That's how it's supposed to look. That's how it's supposed to look. Good. Same thing.
So that's how I really ended up in LA. I didn't initially start with them that season. I joined toward the end. And it worked out pretty well.
Here comes Ingram, he goes by. Capella hits a nice runner from two, and he's fouled.
Are you kidding me? Where has this kid been?
My parents were huge Laker fans, so they're like, man, you going to them? Imagine you getting called up to them. What would that be like? I'm like, yeah, what would it be like?